Welcome to F105. In today's video I'm going to be playing my debut career mode race in this game with a Logitech Driving Force EX. This arrived yesterday in a massive box. I had to carry it up the road as well, so that's how much commitment there was. I probably had to carry it 15 minutes up the road. The reason I've gone and bought one of these, I have always wanted a racing wheel, but never wanted to pay the extent hundreds of pounds for a racing wheel. I didn't think I'd use one that much. Well, recently I've been to the F1 arcade in Birmingham and had an absolute blast. So I thought, how can I bring that experience back home with me? Well, for the first time this week, I've decided to load up F105 on the PS2. Reason being, it's the first game I've got that's got a career mode. The first game that had a career mode for the PS2 was F1 2004, the first Studio Liverpool release anyway. Technically speaking, of course, F1 Career Challenge has got a career mode, but in terms of the Studio Liverpool games, now I played a hell of a lot of F1 Championship Edition on the PS3 back in the day, and I absolutely loved it. But I played this with the controller the other day, and it just wasn't cutting it for me. The problem with these games is that you have to use the X to accelerate and square to brake. And it just wasn't, I just hadn't got the longevity to play. It was hurting my thumb, the angle that I had to have my thumb, and you just had no throttle control really with those buttons. Of course, later when the PS3 and the 360 came around, you've got the triggers, so you could balance your inputs a lot easier than it was on this PS2. And I found this Logitech Driving Force EX on Vinted. It cost me £22. I thought, you know what, if it's rubbish, then I've not lost anything. But I've had an absolute blast playing on F105 this morning. I've loaded it up for the first time this morning. In fact, that's a lie. I loaded it up for the first time yesterday, and I'll put a video over the top of this of me going around Silverstone with Jenson Button, I think, in the time trial. And it didn't go all that well, to be honest. The wheel didn't seem all that well aligned, and I was a bit disappointed yesterday, but fortunately now I am a lot more happier. I've done a couple of hours this morning playing on this game. I've done some time trials around Bahrain and Canada just to get used to the game, and I jumped into career mode this morning, put myself on medium difficulty because on hard I don't think I'd have passed the trials that you need to pass to get into a team. Managed to pass a trial to get into the Jordan Grand Prix, and in this race you're going to see the first race of the season, a 20% race with Jordan at Melbourne. So I guess probably want to go to the final practice session on Saturday, so that's what we'll do. So we've got 3 parts of an hour of this session. Ooh. So we can watch the action unfold. Nobody out there yet, of course. Right, so we might as well be the first one out there then. Haven't driven around Australia yet, so probably need to get myself some experience around this circuit. Take sector times into account, because I've really struggled to hook a lap up when I've been playing so far. So that first sector is a 30.6, 24/7. Pretty clean lap to start with, actually. Don't know what it's like pace-wise. Probably do 5 laps and see what the AI are doing in comparison. So that was a 130.6, 35.2 in that last sector. Keeping the car on the track, which is the biggest positive. Right, so 130.6 to beat. I'm expecting about a 28. Yeah, exactly where we ended up. So 2 seconds quicker on that lap. Whey! That's where you find the limit on this game, I think. Try and take too much speed out of a corner and the car just gives up on you. Well, everybody else has ventured out there. We've actually gone fastest. That wasn't the intention. This is the trouble I always used to have on F1 Championship Edition. Medium was far too, well, say far too easy. Look at that. I think we've got the second slowest car on the grid. Montero with a 32.9. We've outpaced him by 4 seconds. So unless everybody's just carrying a lot more fuel, I'm hoping that's the case, because I don't want to be out in first, as much as it's great to be. In a Jordan, realistically, you don't want to be first in the first Grand Prix of the year. And that's the end of the session, but Christian Klein has gone 5th with a 30.8, so I'm not sure that's exactly representative. Okay, so let's go into Saturday qualifying. Now, I can't remember, because there's a Saturday qualifying and a Sunday qualifying, so I've got absolutely no understanding, really. I wasn't, oh, we're coming out the pits. So I definitely know in 04 it was a whole, one-shot qualifying idea. And definitely in Championship Edition it had gone to what we know now as qualifying. So it's 1 of 3 laps, which makes me think, actually, logically, you've got an out lap, 1 lap, and then the in lap. So I think this is just one-shot qualifying. Qualifying session that I really hope we're not on pole position, because a 12-lap race running out in the front ain't going to be much interest for me or you. But the problem is, I don't think I can get past the hard difficulty trials. That's the most difficult bit at the start of this game. That Christian clean lap that put him 5th gives me hope that the AI are going to be more competitive in this qualifying session. Right, what's it going to be? I don't think it's going to be a 28 this time. Could be a 130. Yeah, it is. Could be a 130.3. So flying laps completed. So that, I think, means that this has got to be the in lap then. So yeah, we are back in the pits. So we can skip to the end of the round. We are first out. I don't know if that's intentional in terms of our order on the grid, or if it is just that we're the players, so we go first. But I'm going to watch a bit of the session. So Patrick Freeshacker to go next. Now I'd expect to beat the Minardi, so it's not really him I'm that fussed about. The only thing that's a shame, I think you can't just skip a driver. I think you've got to skip to the end of the session, which I don't really want to watch. Well, he might beat us, so that might be a bit harrowing. I don't want to watch Freeshacker that much, but I'd probably like to watch somebody like Michael Schumacher. Yeah, so it's a 31.5 in that first sector. So he's already nearly a second off our lap time just in the first sector alone. But thank God they moved to the qualifying format as we know now for 2006. If you were watching back then, I was a little bit too young for this format. The only different format I've ever seen was the elimination qualifying, which didn't exactly last very long. So Freeshacker's done a 34.5. Seems only fair to go and watch our teammates, see how we get on team to team. But you'd expect Montero to have a similar lap time to Freeshacker, I would have thought. Montero should beat the lap time, I'm hoping. It's a 133.6. So he's nearly a second clear of Montero. 3 seconds behind us. What was I think the field spread was about 2 seconds in that practice session. So based on that, we might be a little bit further ahead. But we could be here all day, so... Okay, so P2 in qualifying, just behind Rubens Barrichello. So if we had set our... yeah, those lap times in practice were pretty representative. JB down in 11th with Alonso in 14th, so a pretty bad session for Fernando Alonso. Christian Alba's even further behind Patrick Freeshacker. But Jenson Button being out-qualified by Takuma Sato by half a second there. Blimey. I don't know what Sunday qualify... I'm going to have to research this. The times from the 2 qualification sessions are combined to give an aggregate score, and the start lineup for the race itself is determined by the results, with the driver with the fastest aggregate time taking pole position. I think that's quite cool. See, learning every day. So we've got to set our strategy. Well, yeah, I guess we pick midway in. So Sunday qualifying. So this will be interesting. So it's skipping to the player. So indeed, it will go through everyone before us. So if we skip to the player, so it's just Villeneuve. I don't know why Jack Villeneuve's setting his time late on. That's strange. So Christian Klein is on pole at the moment. So he started a minimum of 4th. Where's Sato? Yeah, Sato was up there. God, is Christian Klein in the Red Bull? I know he was for 2006. But that's an amazing qualifying session on Red Bull's debut if Christian Klein is in that car. So for some reason we're going next. I don't know why Villeneuve is going late on. I understand Barrichello, but Villeneuve going late on is weird. I like this, that there's the jeopardy of the 2 flying laps that you've got to set. I don't know if that was the same in 04. You'll all correct me down in the comments, I'm sure. So pretty much, if we set a time that's similar to what we set before, which that 130 we did was quite scruffy. I think the key is, I did a 6-lap race with Schumi round Bahrain. And I did start last on that occasion. And it is difficult to get through the traffic. I think I've got damage on, and I did punt the back of a few drivers, it's fair to say. So we would have had wing damage. But although on the medium difficulty, again, we were in a Ferrari, so I thought, well, you know, we are going to be quicker. Inevitably, that's probably the fastest car on the grid, along with the Renault. But I was making a few mistakes, which meant that the time we were gaining was being lost by us making a couple of mistakes. So if we bin it on this lap, then we could start at the back. I don't know, because I want to be serious with this wheel, but I don't know whether to just jeopardise this lap, so we do start at the back of the grid. No, I've made some good progress on this wheel. I don't want to jinx anything. It's a joy, I have to say, because I was a bit pessimistic when I first had this wheel that I wouldn't get on with it in this game, but after a couple of hours playing, see, I just need to persevere, and I'm really starting to enjoy this now. This is going to be quicker than we went yesterday, isn't it? So it's going to be a 130 dead, and that Well, it all depends what Rubens does. Unfortunately, we will be able to watch Rubens. So that has put us on pole by 1.6 seconds at the moment. If you look at today's qualifying session, with 6 attempts clear, has Christian Klein set the fastest lap of the day so far? He has. Felipe Massa, the only guy in the 130s, I think he's still in the Sauber. So some of these top teams aren't really performing as well as they could do. Fernando Alonso's had a shocker down in 13th, the eventual world champion this season. So Rubens Barrichello, what does he needs to set probably a 129, doesn't he, to go and take pole position. So let's see. Will Rubinho go and take pole for the first race of the season? Where's Michael, actually? Michael's in 8th at the moment, so he'll be relegated to 9th. So it's going to be a very mixed up grid for this first race here in Australia. So sector times-wise, they're going to give us sectors. So 30 point... Actually, Klein was quicker than us in that first sector. Christian Klein with the best time of the day. So 30.3 from Klein. What's it going to be from Rubens? 30.5. So you'd suggest with this time that he is setting, it's going to put him on the front row, unless Jack Villeneuve delivers. I don't know why. Unless Jack Villeneuve's maybe binned it on his lap and he actually hasn't got a set a lap time. That's maybe what's going on. So 25 dead in that second sector. So not as strong as Cliff. In fact, very weak actually. Can we see what everybody else has set? So 20. Wow. Look at that. 25 dead. That puts him in Ralf Schumacher territory. That's a really bad second sector. So it could be a Red Bull and a Jordan on the front row for the first race of this season. It all depends how he recovers in this last sector. None of the top teams doing particularly well. What's it going to be for Rubens? It is a 131.5. That still puts him on the front row. Fortunately, because he was so far clear. I'll tell you what I've just noticed, or I didn't spot before. The two McLarens have got exactly the same time. Kimi Raikkonen and Juan Pablo Montoya over 2 laps. That's got to be really rare. Don't know what happened to Jack Villeneuve. Jack Villeneuve must be... So I wonder if he's binned it on his lap. Let's have a look. Jack Villeneuve, yeah, he hasn't set a lap time today. So he'll start last. We're on pole position for our first race with Jordan. That's not necessarily the intention, but let's see how it goes on the race day. Oh, look at that. So we're on pole. Yeah, Christian Klein is in the Red Bull. So apart from the McLaren, how many teams are there in the top 10? We've got Jordan Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren, Sauber, Honda, and Renault. 7 teams make up the top 10. Wowzers. Alonso's going to have to come from a long way back in P14. Jack Villeneuve pretty disappointing at the back of the grid. And here we go. Starting at the front of the grid. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. Got a lot of cars behind us. I still can't believe that Red Bull on pace being third in its debut Grand Prix. But it's the Jordan who leads the way. Going into the first corner. Oh, Rubens has took us up the inside. And the McLaren making a good start there. We should get some commentary, if it's anything like the normal Grand Prix mode, from James Allen and Martin Brundle as we go through this race. Move up the inside of the McLaren, a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact. Oh, we've got the slowdown. I hated that about these games. That was tragic on Championship Edition as well. If it would have been a little bit too nice on this opening lap, because the top 4 are running away a little bit. I think that's the Renault of Giancarlo Fisichella in P3. Christian Klein losing a place on the start from 3rd. It's Juan Pablo Montoya in 6th, but we have dropped down to 5th place. Let's see what our race pace is like compared to qualifying. It's one thing setting a time on the track when you're on your own, but it's another in race combat. Could have a run on Christian Klein down the back straight. Probably a little bit too far away. Can we get into the slipstream? Might be out to outbrake. Go into the corner. Run up the inside. Brake a bit late. That's P4 back in our hands. For some reason, I don't know if it's just my headphones, there's very little in the way of... In fact, there's no car noise, really. So I don't know what's happened there. It's actually not Fisichella in 3rd. It's Felipe Massa, who's climbed slightly to P3. I think it's got to be Kimi in 2nd, because Montoya was running 6th. Oh, we've gone wide. That's okay. Slightly perturbed by the lack of commentary here. Oh, very close to Massa through the chicane. We've gained a couple of seconds on Christian Klein since overtaking him, so it's clear that we are a couple of seconds faster in clean air. Unless it's really muffled though, there's no question that there's no commentary I can hear so far from James Allen or Martin Brundle, which is a real pity. Oh god, we got that wrong. So making a few mistakes in the first couple of laps here. I'd love to know what the gap is to Rubens at the front. You can just about see him, so I reckon he's what, about 7-8 seconds up the road is Barrichello? And that probably stands up, because if you look at our last lap, a 1:33.5, that's nowhere near what our pace was in quali. This could just be a strong track for us though, because I remember in Championship Edition I was really good at Manicourt. Like in the Midland I would beat everybody by, and I can't remember whether that's on a hard or medium, I used to beat everybody by, I don't know, 4 or 5 seconds a lap, whereas some other places you were just so uncompetitive. But it feels like in race trim this is a little bit better. Yeah, but we're another 2 seconds ahead of Clean compared to where we were on the last lap, and we've just about gained the time that we'd lost on Felipe Massa, so we've got to try and get the move done at some point here. Right, better run out the last corner. Should just get him here, shouldn't we? Should we slip into the slipstream? Up into 7th. Beat him on the brakes, and we're back into a podium position. Now, I never used to finish on the podium very often in Championship Edition, but I think there were podiums in that game. Are there in this one? Not sure. So we're a second ahead of Felipe Massa at the end of that first sector. We're 2.5 behind Kimi Räikkönen, but we're really starting to hook things up now. And I think this is a lot about rhythm. I was finding that doing my testing sessions. You'd have a couple of laps where you'd keep it on the track, and then the second you go off or have a spin, I just seem to lose confidence. But we are very, very quick now. We've gained 1.3 seconds on Kimi Räikkönen in one sector. And I'd say we've gained a second on him coming down the straight. We've made contact with Räikkönen. I've no idea how the front wing is still fully intact, but it is. And we're going to breeze past Räikkönen on the straight. Are we? Well, I thought we were. We were getting some real good momentum against Kimi. I think we're going to have to sneak in behind him because, we've tapped the back of his car once again. Don't want to brake too hard and risk going wide, which can happen into one of these corners. Yeah, little tap again on the rear. You want to get past in sort of the medium pace corners for me to avoid a big collision, but this is holding us up slightly. God, we've hit the back of him again. Surely there's no damage on here because the front wing would be in ruins at this point, but I'm sure I had turned damage on. Right, no more Mr. Nice Guy now. Should get the slipstream on, coming down into the corner now, side by side, and we've got him. That was, after about 3 or 4 collisions with him, that was fairly clean in the end. Oh, that was the first slide I've had. Pushing the limits just too much. So Rubens is 3 seconds up the road. So if I had set this to a 10% rather than a 20%, I wonder if by the end of the next lap we'd just be catching up to him. And I've got to remember that I've got to come into the pits at the end of the next lap. This lap's lost us a lot of time. Look at that, 1:31.3 compared to a best of a 1:29.4. So we lost about 2 seconds in the traffic there of Kimi Räikkönen. I don't know how much harder hard is. I think I could survive on hard difficulty, because if you think this Jordan is meant to be a backmarker car, it's just all about trying to get through the trials. I don't think you can have various career mode saves though on this game, which is a bit of a bummer. I don't really want to start again now. But anyway, back to the race in action. We are definitely a couple of seconds quicker a lap than the AI, but that is not what we wanted. We were a bit... Oh, come on. The penalties just shaft you. I mean, look at that. We were half a second behind Rubens, and that has probably now gone back to the gap it was a couple of laps ago. We've got Kimi right on our gearbox. Now, I don't know what the pit limiter is here, and I don't know if it will activate by itself. Rubens is in. We're going to come in. Just going to come in really cautiously, so I don't want to get a penalty here. Is it usually about 60 miles an hour? So I think we have to do these pit stops ourselves, like we do in Championship Edition. So let's get the 4 buttons ready. So it's going to be circle, circle, square. Okay, so it's just a fuel change, no tyre change in this Grand Prix. So Barrichello comes out ahead of us. A couple of drivers opting to stop out a lap longer. And if it is that nobody is double stacking, I'll tell you, the field spread is massive, because within 6 laps as well, the field spread must be huge. Because if half the grid hadn't stopped, I'd be expected to come out in the lower half of the running order. We've got somebody right behind us. I hope that's not somebody for position. I think it said it was Nick Heidfeld in the Sister Sauber to Felipe Massa. It is Nick Heidfeld. Back to the audio. This feels like I'm listening to the Grand Prix about a few miles away from the circuit, because you can hear the ever so often, but it's not exactly like you're in the cockpit of a car. So is that a game glitch? Is that something with the game capture device? Because we could definitely hear ourselves in qualifying. There was no problem with that. Everything should be back to normal now, because the guys who didn't pit on the last lap, I suspect, will pit on this lap. They do, so it leaves ourselves and Rubens out in front. That McLaren of Kimi Raikkonen has dropped back significantly. So at the end of lap 7, it's 2 seconds the gap to Rubens Barrichello, who leads this Australian Grand Prix. You would say at this point it's going to be one of two, because Kimi Raikkonen's just coming out at the first corner, so he's probably out of it now, unless there is a major collision between the top 2 in this Grand Prix. The other thing I've got to contend with is that the pedals keep slipping just slightly. There was quite a big slip there, went backwards. So 4 seconds is the gap behind Kimi Raikkonen, so we've got quite a bit of safety if we make a little slip up. Granted, if we spin or go into the gravel, that's not going to be enough, but we should be okay in P2. I think we can win this race. The last time we came up just behind Rubens on lap 6, we managed to cut this chicane that we've just come out of now. I should have just really played this off and said, oh yeah, we're on hard difficulty. Look at me with a wheel, I'm like the master. No, this is definitely on medium, which I'm starting to think as I get more experienced that medium is probably too easy for me. I might do a time trial around Australia at the end of this video, because when I was doing the time trials earlier on today, I was only just about getting into the silver category, and that was my limit. So logically I'd think bronze would be easy, silver medium, and gold would be hard difficulty. So if we can get into the gold, that is quite a promising sign. Should be able to get Rubens Barrichello. It's just all about a matter of when, not if. It's through the corners that we are a lot quicker. We get onto the throttle a lot quicker. You can see that as we tap the back of Rubens. But in fairness, once these cars get up to full throttle, I don't know if it's just because of the power of the Ferrari being better than the Jordan. Oh, bit of contact there, bit more contact just for the sake of it. But we do overtake Barrichello. I don't know if it's just because of the Ferrari power over the Jordan that maybe as we go further into the straights they are gaining on us. But for the first time in 9 laps, after losing it off the start, we are back to where we started, P1 in this Australian Grand Prix. Now, I just heard a couple of strange noises, which does make me a bit concerned that, of course, in this game you do have engine failures, etc. That would be fate, wouldn't it, to lead the Grand Prix for Jordan and then have a blowout at the end of the race. Oh, God. Penalty. Oh, God, that's going to put Rubens back in front of us, isn't it? Now, if someone's retired from the race in front of us, so there's got to be a car somewhere up here. Don't know who it is because, again, don't know why we haven't got any commentary. I really hope that's something that's just a glitch for this race, because that's a really good thing about this era of game, having the commentary in game. But you see what I mean about rhythm? As we got the penalty, it's just all gone a bit wobbly again. That is either, I think it's the Sauber. That looks like a Renault icon, but I think it is actually the Sauber. So Kimi's 3.1 seconds behind. We've got 2 laps left, so we've got to keep this clean and re-overtake Rubens Barrichello for the second time to try and win this Grand Prix. And then the chicane is probably our best chance. But we want to do this cleanly. We don't just barge Rubens out the way. But I think with that, we are a little bit too nice, because we come off the throttle and, of course, let Rubens use the Ferrari power to break free a little bit. It's not the last lap, is it? No, I haven't misread, or else I'd have to make a dive bomb going down into the last corner. I'm not going to do that. Probably too far away on the start-finish straight. We saw with Kimi Raikkonen we couldn't really make a dive up the inside. Oh, we've had a big collision there. It's just how we get back on the gas after the corner, I think, compared to Rubens Barrichello. Down into this right-hander might be a chance, but we made contact with Kimi Raikkonen here before. We brake late, we brake way too late, and that was our opportunity, and I think we've missed that opportunity. Oh, bugger. Should have been a little bit more patient. And I wonder if it's when you do run into the gravel or something, the car just wants to slip a bit there, and it has slipped here. That is a disaster. Oh, it goes from bad to worse on this final lap. Looking at a win, we said we'd got the gap to Kimi Raikkonen comfortably unless we had a spin. And to be fair, we have gone 12 laps without having a spin or anything like that. So we've done quite well today. But on the final lap, we've mucked it up a little. But fortunately, the gap is such that we are comfortably on the podium. Neither Ferrari or Renault anywhere in this race. Be interested to see where Fernando Alonso got up to from, was it P14, I think, on the grid. And I'm surprised to see that Michael Schumacher hasn't gained any time. I'll be interested as well to see what the spread of this field is, because over a 12-lap race, this field spread is huge by the looks of it. But a very good 12-lap race. That's been an absolute blast. It's not quite where we wanted to finish at the front, but we'll take P3. Good Grand Prix. So Rubens Barrichello wins the race. Kimi Raikkonen pretty competitive there. I mean, that's a massive result for Felipe Massa as well. I wonder where Christian Klein finished, because he had a pretty good start. So just the top 10, there was 35 seconds in it. So Montoya finishes 5th, Michael Schumacher 6th, Christian Klein 15 seconds behind. I wonder if Christian Klein was the roadblock then for those guys behind us. Takuma Sato in 8th, Mark Webber in his first race for Williams, P9, Jenson Button P10. It was Giancarlo Fisichella in the Renault that didn't finish, so a disaster for him, a disaster for Renault overall really, because Fernando Alonso could only finish 15th. What a start to the season. So there's the World Championship standings. Barrichello leads. Yeah, that's the full driver standings. I guess we'll see the constructors. So Jordan in 3rd. 6 teams scoring points in this first race. Red Bull scoring points on their debut. Good result for Sauber Petronas. Ferrari and McLaren, the only 2 teams to have both drivers in the points. Hey! There we go. Love it. Again, I don't know what's happened to the sound. Look at that Jordan up there. I'll tell you what, the face models look okay of Rubinho and Kimi. So I think we're going to have quite a happy team after that. Yeah, Jordan, great work. First podium for Jones. Lovely. And Barrichello wins the Australian Grand Prix. So a winning time of 18 minutes 30 seconds. That absolutely flew by. Ooh, blimey. 27.6 we've got to get to. So the only way that I'm going to prove myself properly in this, because that was medium. So the final segment of this video is going to be trying to get a gold star in the time trial mode. So a 27.6 is what we've got to get to. Now, if the career mode, which I'm assuming can't be equal cars, obviously I think time trial is equal cars. We got a, was it a 130 in the Jordan? Or was it, I think we did a 129, didn't we, fastest? Or I might be completely forgetting, but in this time trial mode, we'll get at least a silver. Now, I was getting only silvers earlier, and that was about my limit. So can we get a gold in Fernando Alonso's Renault and finally prove myself as a half-decent driver on the wheel? Now, from memory, sector times. We did a 29 in the first sector in our Jordan. That wasn't the best way to open the lap. And a 24 in the second sector. So we're looking for probably 28 and 23. Good start. Renault very kindly have given me their second car after I've been their first one. We've got through the first corner this time. Now the key thing about time trial, which doesn't necessarily apply to a race, is that you've got to hook one lap up. And that is a good first sector, I believe, to start off with. Hey! We found the limit there. See, I love how when you find the limit, the car just goes, no, Right, should put us in the silver, which is a good place to start. Should it? It's going to be close. Ooh, just inside the silver. So we've got to get 3.5 seconds to get the gold medal. Oh, God, we've spun again. How fascinating, though, that in a career mode, I was able to hook a lap up with a Jordan and put it on pole with a 130. Yet in this Renault in time trial mode, which you would have thought would have been the purest form of racing where you'd be quickest, we're not able to achieve the same results. And that is the problem with this trial mode to get a seat in Formula 1. Over one lap, probably not going to be able to cut it. The Red Bull test was okay at Manicourt. I wasn't quite able to do that. I probably would be able to now, again, but on medium. Maybe not on hard. Could just start a different profile and have a go on hard, I guess. And then come back to the main profile. Oh, wow. Yeah, again, finding the limit of that chicane. Didn't have that in the career mode. Right, I'm going to have one more go at this. If anything, we've got ourselves a silver medal. God, you just turn into that first corner and the car just goes. Didn't have that in the career mode at all. I wonder if it's something to do with traction control, whether we had more on in the career mode, possibly. There you go, silver award. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that as much as I have. I've been recording for about an hour, so I don't know how long this video is going to come to, but I've immensely enjoyed doing that, and I've got a feeling that I'm going to be using this wheel for a long time. It's going to take up many hours of my life, but you know, it's made me get the PS2 back out again. I've played it for about 3 hours this morning. That's more than I've probably played it combined in the last couple of years, so this has been a very good investment. I think I'll be doing probably a review of the wheel in terms of how I found it once I've played more games. It certainly works well on this game, but it took time for me to get it to work well on this game and really getting more experience using the wheel to get it working on this game. I might do more videos. I think I'll probably do more videos racing on different games with this wheel. I'm really interested to see how this works on the likes of Gran Turismo or TOCA Race Driver or even rally games, getting into those. But for now, it's going to be F105. I might do more videos on F105. Let me know what you want to see down below. I appreciate you staying for this long because I think it is going to be a bit of a longer video. I'll try and edit it as short as possible, at least as concise and coherent as I possibly can anyway. But I've had a great time. I hope you have as well. Leave a like if you enjoyed down below, and I'll see you next time.